Hi, in today's episode, we're going to hear from a personal trainer, Stuart Henderson. Stuart is not only good at what he does, but he is also extremely generous. In this episode, he's going to share plenty of tips that you can take away and start implementing ASAP. We will be talking about midlife health, fitness in 40 plus, the importance of rest and recovery, and what small things you can do to get better in your physical well being, and also the mindset required for that. Let's dive straight into a conversation. Hello, Stuart. Thank you for
Hello.
coming on this episode for a conversation that I am really looking forward to because I have plenty of questions and I would have further more questions. So I look forward to having you back again. Um, I would like to start with your own history, if that's okay. So I know you're a personal trainer,
Yes.
and I know
Yes.
you are quite active on LinkedIn. And I have said you're a very generous man because you do post incredible amount of tips and things that we can actually start doing. Like I see you exercising there, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do that now. I'm going to try. Stuart has done it, so let me try. So you're very practical. I think that goes with a personal trainer. But what made you become a personal trainer in the first place?
Um, well, I've always been very active. As a child, I was into gymnastics, um, and I carried that on well into my teens. Um, I started working with the Inland Revenue, and I was there for 12 years, and I got sick of it, basically, got bored. I wanted something more. There was something else I needed to do. And like I say, I've always been into fitness, um, the gymnastics, and then I moved into martial arts, karate. So I started teaching karate, and I taught that for a while. But there was still more. I wanted to help more people, and um, I trained as a personal trainer. I saw the adverts, and I thought, yeah, that's what I want to do. So I trained as a personal trainer and sports therapist, and because I could then pass my knowledge on to those people who needed my help. Um, I'm very passionate about what I do, um, and I always knew that fitness was my journey.
Mm,
And being in corporate, being stuck behind a desk, nah, that wasn't me. That was not me. I needed more. I'm a very active person. I've always been an active person, and I wanted to pass that on to other people. That's it in a nutshell.
that's beautiful. I think that what that brought me was how it is in our nature to be moving, isn't it? Humans were always meant to be moving, active,
Yes,
and somehow
yes,
lately we've been more static.
yes.
And
Yeah. Modern life makes us more static.
yeah,
Um, and sitting behind a desk, doing nothing for 7, 8, 9 hours. Um, Most of our body switches off. Um, we become stiff. We get tired very quickly. And when we do start to move, because our bodies have switched off, that's when we're prone to injury. So we
mm,
need to move. Our bodies are designed to move every 45 minutes. So we
mm,
need to get up and move to keep the blood flowing, to keep our heart rate going, to keep our brains functioning, to keep our mental health going. Because as you mentioned earlier, mental health and physical health they're locked. They're one piece. So if we're sitting down doing nothing, then our bodies switch off, our minds then switch off. So we
yeah,
are designed as humans to move.
yeah. And we will hear a lot of tips from you through this conversation about how we can increase our movement. So my next question to you is, if there was ever a moment, I will share my little thing when I realized that the physical activity, physical exercise is not so much about the physical activity, it was more for the mind. That is when I got really excited about exercising, to be perfectly honest. When it was
Yeah.
just about the body, it didn't really excite me. But now, when I knew I have to push now, and I know now it's not the body that's refusing, it's my mind that's saying, you know what, Bina, that's enough. You've done a lot. Why don't you slow down? It's okay. And, all that cradling. But when I learned that it is a more of a mind game, it became exciting. I wondered if there was ever a turning point for you, or some epiphany or anything interesting that you had in your journey.
Yes. Like I say, I've always been into fitness, but the main turning point for me was when I broke my back. I had a
Mm.
car accident, and I broke my back, and I was in hospital for such a long time, and I couldn't feel anything from the waist down.
Oh.
So the consultant at the time said to me, Stuart, you may never be able to walk properly again. And with my mindset, I'm quite pig-headed, if you like,
Mm.
and I just thought, no, I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to prove you wrong. I want to walk again. I want to be able to do all the things I was doing previously. Um, and that was the turning point for me, um, getting back into it. And as you say, it was a mental thing. It was my mind. It was very slow to start, but my mind kept me going. You can do
Mm.
this, Stuart. You can do this. I had a goal. I set myself a goal that I will be able to walk properly again. And at that time when I broke my back, I'd just started up this business. So I'd left my job in the Inland Revenue and I just started up this business. So my main push was I've got to make this work. I can't I can't be seen to be an injured personal trainer. I've got to make
Mm.
myself better. Um, and that's when I threw myself into helping people in a similar situation as to myself, people with injuries, people with medical conditions. That was my turning point, breaking my back, and then coming back from that. And now I would say that I am very much stronger than I was before I broke my back because I've trained myself and my mind to understand how to do it and to become stronger mentally and physically.
That's incredible, isn't it? How sometimes you need to be broken to rebuild
Yes,
yourself.
yes.
That's incredible.
Sometimes things have to be made worse before
Yeah,
you can make them better.
yeah. You almost need that wake-up call. I know it's a rude way to wake up, but sometimes it just is needed. Hi,
Yes.
I want to dive into health after 40. And in my own
Yep.
experience, as young as I may feel in my mind, as if I'm not aging, the body definitely shows, right, that it is going past a certain age. Like 30, certain
Yes.
things happen, 35, certain things happen, 40. And maybe it's a more of a women's body thing. I don't know. I've not been in a man's body, so I don't know about that. But in general, when people cross 40, what shifts in the body should we be aware of?
Right. Shifts in the body when we get past 40 for both men and women, hormonal changes. So for women, it's going to be a drop in estrogen. For men, you're going to get a drop in testosterone. Men lose about 1% of their testosterone per year after 40. So that one shift is hormonal. Another one is muscle loss.
Hmm.
We have something called muscle atrophy or sarcopenia. So, muscle atrophy is where you're not using your muscles as much as you used to because we slow down. Um, there's going to be bone density dips. So, the density of your bone isn't as strong as it used to be, especially in women going through the perimenopause.
Mhm.
Um, slower recovery rates. So you don't recover, you don't bounce back like you used to in your 20s. You need longer recovery times. So if you're exercising, you've got to put the recovery into part of your plan, part of your exercise plan. You've got to create that longer recovery period. Otherwise, illness and injury and burnout will occur a lot quicker. As we get older, you've got to allow for um, longer recovery from illness, longer recovery from any injury you get. Um, but the good news is that with strength training, good nutrition, good sleep, and stress management, most of that can be slowed down or even reversed.
Right. It sounds very simple, isn't it? Personally, it all sounds very simple, except the maybe the strength training, which I'm still at the infant stage of. But it is much harder to do it at this day and age, especially the sleep and the stress management seem to be such big
Yes.
challenges. Even
Yes.
nutrition seems okay, people are more aware and they're probably more actively engaged in eating well. But sleep is definitely undermined. But we'll come to rest and recovery in a bit. I still want to dig into the health after 40. Is there such a thing as, this is the right workout after 40, or does it vary from person to person and maybe on their lifestyle and so on?
Yeah, a lot of people when they come to me, they want the right workout. They've been searching across the net for the right workout. What you've got to take into account is every person is individual. Every person starts at a different platform. So you've got to take into account lifestyle, your health, um, your uh, your job. Um, you've got to take into account quite a few things. So there is no right exercise. The the one thing I would say is the right mix has to include strength training to protect muscle and bone. It has to include cardio. It has to include mobility work because as we get older, we become more stiff. We're sitting down for longer these days. So mobility work has to be included. Like I said before, strength training to keep up your bone density, that has to be included. Um, and recovery has to be put into a plan. So that's the mix, but there is no right workout. The right workout is the one that's planned, that has been tailored for the
Hmm.
individual.
And how would you say they will be able to see whether it is working for them or not, to see if there's any changes that need to be made in their workout routine?
Right. That comes with measuring. So for some people, if somebody wants to lose weight, um, or body fat, um, then you would use either the scales or I would say the best way to do that is measuring with a tape measure, measuring your
Mm,
waist, measuring different parts of your body, looking in the mirror and seeing the changes, going back to the mind body connection. How do you feel in
mm,
yourself? Are you waking up feeling better? Do you have more energy? They're
mm,
ways of measuring whether it's working. If you're wanting to increase muscle mass, I have clients that come to me who have lost a lot of muscle mass for no reason. And one of the ways of measuring whether it's working for them is using the measuring tape.
Mm,
Um, so seeing whether the waist or the legs are getting bigger, um, whether their fatigue levels are getting better. They're not as fatigued as they once were. So there's that mind body connection again. So knowing whether it's working for a lot of people, it's actually physically seeing that change. For
mm,
others, it's feeling that change.
mm,
They know themselves that it's actually working. Other people prefer to see the change. Other people a lot of my clients like to see a change in both.
mm,
I've had clients that one of my clients, she lost 6 stone. Um, and before she came to me, she was very depressed. Um, and losing 6 stone, the change in her outlook was amazing, absolutely amazing. She could do more. She was happier. She was more
mm.
mobile. Her eating patterns had changed. She was eating healthier, so she was getting more of um, the energy foods that she needed. She was getting better sleep. So her whole life had absolutely changed, and you could see the physical and the mental with her.
That's beautiful. I think that's an important point for people to keep in mind because sometimes not everything is measurable. Right? As an engineer, I can tell that there are certain attributes that you can't
Yes,
measure, and those become tricky to
yes,
see if you're making an improvement or not. But certainly the feeling that you get from, you've been doing this, is it working or not? We should be able to
yes,
tell. And I think it's important for people to learn to check in with themselves every now and
yes,
then to see, yes, I do feel better, and or I
yes. One
don't
of the
feel better,
first,
whatever it is.
yes, one of the first things I would say to anybody is understand your why.
Mm,
Understand why you're doing this. Where have you come from? Why did you get there in the first place? Why do you want to change? And how is that change going to affect the rest of your life? Understanding those fundamentals keeps your mind focused on your end goal.
mm. Yeah, that brings up another question for me, Stuart, if that's all right. What is the common why that you see? And the reason I ask that question is because we are living at a time when, especially people that are in their 40s, we've definitely had exposure to the internet, and information is readily available.
Yes,
So it is, maybe my mother would have been ignorant about the effects of 40s, and she definitely was. And when she went through health problems, the doctors didn't educate her on the consequences of the treatment that they were giving her either. But that's not the case in this generation. We are more aware, information is there, but
yes.
still, I can't categorically say we are much healthier, we're much happier, and so on. So, have you noticed any pattern in the why that people get to that point at all? Like, is it because they don't find time, or?
A lot of it, um, they something has happened. Something has to happen. You have to have a um, an emotional connection first. That emotional connection makes you realize something has to change. So
Mm,
when something happens, whether it's an injury or you see a picture of yourself you don't like, that emotional connection is there. And you think, right, something has to be done about this. That's been the same for many years. Um, and the main one of the big things is a lot of people don't have the education, so they don't know where to start. They've gone through life their 40s, they're now in their 50s, and it's taken them 50 years to get to where they are.
Mm,
And they haven't had the right education to say, that's this is how I'm going to change. They don't know where to start. Many years ago, it was all about going to step classes, cardio. That was the thing. Going to aerobics, doing a lot of cardio to lose weight, going out for a run to lose weight. That was the mental. That was the what we were taught many years ago.
mm,
That's what uh, people in the 50s still think. They should go out and start running. They should go out and do a lot of cardio. The new thinking is when you're in your 40s and 50s, um, to decrease your cardio. Cardio is still very necessary, but decrease your cardio and start putting in strength training. So a lot of the common mistakes people make is they're not doing the right kind of workout for them, for their end goal. So they either push themselves too hard or they don't do enough.
mm,
And one of the things that people don't do is start with stress management. That would be my first tip. Start with stress management, reducing your stress levels. Work. How do you how do you reduce stress at work? That's one thing that they have to start with, reducing their stress. Number two is nutrition. Looking at your nutrition, feeding your body correctly, getting the nutrients that your body and your mind need. So, feeding your body correctly. And number three will be your exercise. But people turn that around and they think that exercise has to be number one. It's not. That's further down the chain. You've got to get the other two things correct first before you can start the exercise. If you get the
yeah.
first two, stress and nutrition, correct, then the exercise will be a bonus on top of that.
I think the exercise is easier to dive into. It's more tactile and you can see it, the touch and feel is there, so it's just easier to get stuck in. And nutrition seems to be a bit of a guessing, and there's so much conflicting information these days. And
Oh,
again,
yes.
I learned through my experience because I went down the naturopathy route for certain chronic illnesses, how you need to tailor even nutrition. So maybe we need to discuss that in a separate episode, just nutrition on its own, Stuart.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
what are some, so I think we sort of covered this, but are there any other common mistakes that people tend to make at this stage? Like you said, they probably get stuck into the exercise. Is there anything else that you would add as myths and mistakes?
Yeah. A lot of people are thinking in their 40s and 50s, they still have the mindset of a 20-year-old. So instead of changing, being smarter about their exercising, they're thinking they're 20-year-olds and they can bounce back and they're pushing too hard. So they don't give themselves the proper recovery time.
Mm,
So in your 20s, you can exercise today and you can exercise tomorrow and you won't feel the effect of it. But when in your 40s and 50s, you've got to give yourself maybe one day, maybe 2 days, maybe a week off to recover from what you've done, depending on your goal. Otherwise, you're overtraining. If you're wanting to build muscle and you're not giving yourself enough recovery time, then your body is going to use that muscle for energy. You're not going to you're not going to build the muscle if you don't give yourself enough recovery time. If you're wanting to lose weight and you don't give yourself enough recovery time, your body will then switch down. So your metabolism will go down instead of going
mm,
up. So you burn more fat. you don't burn as much fat. Um, you retain that fat because your body will then go into a starvation
Mm,
mode. So it will hold on to the fat because your metabolism will slow down. Because when you exercise, you're actually putting your body under a hell of a lot of stress. A hell of a lot of stress. You're actually damaging your body when you're exercising.
mm,
So you've got to reduce that stress. So it goes back to first, number one is reducing your stress. So when you've exercised, if you're already under stress and you put your body under even more stress, you're not going to get the results because you're increasing the stress hormone in your body, cortisol,
mm,
which will then slow down your body. So you're not going to get the results you're after if you don't put in that recovery period. And a lot of people in their 40s, 50s, 60s, they just don't do that. That's another mistake I see a lot.
And how would someone know if they have pushed too far? Because I think that's another mistake. Speaking from personal experience, I want to do this and get this,
Yes.
achieve the goal really soon. So I'll push and push. And how can someone figure out that they have pushed too far in a session and they need to dial down?
Right. If somebody you know you will know mentally that you've pushed too hard. You're tired. You're not bouncing back. You're not recovering. Maybe illness is is too frequent. So if you've done a workout today and you do a workout tomorrow, and you do a workout the day after,
Mm,
and you're mentally drained,
mm,
and you go to work and you can't focus on what you're supposed to do because you're mentally drained. To be able to recover, to be able to do 3 sessions in day after day after day, to be able to do those 3 sessions, you've got to feed your body correctly with the correct nutrition. And a lot of people won't do that.
mm,
They think the exercise is going to give them that energy, but you've also got to feed that that exercise. So overtraining, you will know you've overtrained because you're tired, your
mm,
muscles ache. And if you go back and try and work the same muscle group the next day, you may get injured. It
mm,
hurts even more. So injury is more prone if you're not recovering properly. If you've overtrained, you're going to injure yourself more. You won't
mm,
be able to do the exercise. So yeah, you will know mentally and physically that you've overtrained because it hurts more.
I can definitely relate to that. I think you've sort of talked about rest and recovery, which I think is often ignored. And the advice that you gave me on one of your LinkedIn posts as well, in terms of the bedtime routine and having some sort of a hygiene around bedtime. So, in addition to increased cortisol, and the moment someone says cortisol, it reminds me of the muffin, because that's usually where the weight accumulates with the stress, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
How what can we do to help rest better? What would be your advice?
One thing, one thing to rest better is find something you enjoy. First and foremost, you have to enjoy what you're doing. When you enjoy what you're doing, your mind is more peaceful.
Mm,
So for some people, it's like myself, it's being in nature,
mm,
going out for a walk at a weekend. My weekends will be full of walks in nature. Other people, it's listen to music. For other people, it's yoga, breathing exercises, deep breathing exercises, but you have to find that one thing that you enjoy doing.
Mm,
And you have to take that time out to rest better. You've got to take that time out from the things that are causing the stress in your life.
mm,
If you don't, then you're always going to be taking that stress with you. If you don't completely shut off, you're going to take that stress with you. Small power breaks throughout the day, 5 minutes, maybe 2 or 3 minutes away from what you're doing, and being with yourself is is a good way of um, getting that recovery, getting that rest. It can take, like I say, 2, 3, 4 minutes, and you're back to more focused. You've rested, but then occasionally you will need that longer period where you need to take a week out, going on holiday, but leaving the the work. Don't take your work with you.
mm,
You need that space. So power breaks throughout the day while you're working, and then occasionally you need to take that complete break and complete switch off.
mm. So, what I'm hearing there is you can't just wait for your holidays to say, I will catch up with resting and recovery then. I know some people say, I'll sleep when I'm dead. Until then, they're just going to power through. I don't know how they do that. So, it was interesting to hear you say and focus more on periodic. That's then and there. Like, you can't just postpone that for later. And it doesn't have to be something monumental, I just don't have any time to record. Surely we all can get 2 minutes, 3 minutes in a day every now and then to take a
Yes,
break. And one other thing, interesting point that you made was being with ourselves. And as someone that works with people and help restore their emotional well-being, I've noticed that it is one of the biggest challenges people have to be with themselves, because that means that they then have to sit with their thoughts, and they would rather do anything else to avoid being with themselves.
it's difficult. It is difficult. Um, but learning, one of the things I do with meditation is heart meditation.
Hmm.
Take myself away into a quiet room, place my hand on my heart, and just listening to the beat of my heart
Yeah,
for 1, 2, maybe 3 minutes,
yeah,
and then listening to the sounds around you. And one big thing I do is, it's going to sound ridiculous to some people, is listening to the silence.
mm,
Listen to the silence and allow any noise, any sound that wants to enter, allow that to enter, and then just place the hand back on the heart there, deep breathe, and then 3 minutes, you're done.
yeah. And listening to your heart is one of the techniques one can use to reduce anxiety as well.
Yes,
It can help them immediately slow down the revving engine and help them
yes.
relax immediately. So that's definitely a wonderful tip that anyone can start following straight away. And speaking about tips, one more, if you can, for sleep. What is one thing that can make a big difference to get a good night's sleep?
One thing is, give up your technology, give up your phone, stop doing anything that's going to stimulate the brain at least an hour before you go to bed. So you've got to get your brain, over time, you've got to tell your brain that from 8 o'clock, 8 p.m., it's time to slow down. If you're still looking at your emails, your texts, looking at your phone, um, 10 minutes before you go to bed, your brain is still stimulated.
Mm,
You're still in, hey, let's look at this one more. You're scrolling, let's look at it. You From 8 p.m., myself from 8 p.m. I put my phone down. I don't touch it. And then an hour, 2 hours later, I'm in bed. So my body then, over time, has learnt that come 8 o'clock, it's slowing down time. So if
Right.
anybody sends me a text after 8 o'clock in the evening, I won't answer it until the next day. That's one tip, is leave your tech alone, because tech will only keep you awake when you go to bed, because your brain is still ticking over, thinking about it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
my one tip.
I think the sad part is many of us tell ourselves the story that while scrolling, I would fall asleep, and it just doesn't work because an hour later you're still scrolling. And
Yes.
yes, right. So let's talk a bit about the mindset and the motivation around the physical wellness and fitness and exercise. What would you say to some people that say, I don't have the willpower or time?
Okay. So one thing I would say, I would reframe it. I would say fitness isn't about willpower or huge chunks of time. You don't need an hour, 2 hours to work out. It's about small, doable habits that fit into your lifestyle. So some workouts can be 3 minutes. A full body workout in 3 minutes can be just as beneficial to you as working out for an hour and a half. So it's fitting it into your lifestyle. So 3 minutes is all you have, then a full body workout um, in 3 minutes can be more beneficial, like I say, than an hour and a half's workout. Um, I have clients that come in and they have told me that um, in the past they've spent 2 hours in the gym and got no results. They've come out thinking we could have done more. Um, 20 minutes with me, and yeah, they need to sleep. They need to go and recover. Um, HIIT workouts have been
Mm,
proven time and time again to be some of the best workouts you can give to an over 40s, because
right,
it's time efficient. Um, you get your recovery afterwards. It's 20 minutes, done, dusted. You don't have to think about it again. There's
right.
in and out, 3 minutes, in and out, 5 minutes, in and out. They're some of the best workouts. So it's not about willpower or huge chunks of time. It's about small, doable habits and being consistent. Consistency is key. You have to keep on top of it, even when you don't feel like it. When you don't feel like doing a 20-minute workout, do a 3 minute workout.
Mm,
It's about keeping going, showing up.
right. Yeah. Um, I, I realized, and I had read, I think it was a book by Steve Chandler, that you get motivation only by acting on it, like taking action. You don't,
Yes.
it's not the opposite. You don't have to wait for motivation to take action. Instead, take the action, and then the
Yes.
motivation will follow.
Yes, motivation is here right now, but it won't be there in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Motivation comes and goes. So don't rely on motivation, rely on consistency,
Mm,
getting that plan, getting yourself into a routine that 10 o'clock is my workout time. And that's constant. So 10 o'clock, 5 o'clock, they're my workout times. And that's your plan of action. Getting that into your daily habits, getting that into your consistent daily habits,
yeah. I think
rather
consistency
than
is the
rather
key
than
point.
relying on motivation to do it, because
Right.
motivation is a killer.
I think motivation is a thought, isn't it? So it's just fleeting. You
Yes.
can't really rely, and you don't know when it is going to come. I know we talked about this. I mentioned my own experience. Can you, in a nutshell, say what the role of mindset is in sustainable fitness?
The rule of mindset is in sustainable fitness is you've got to have a want to do it. So when there's a an emotional, like I said right at the very
Mm,
beginning, there has to be an emotional attachment.
mm,
When there's an emotional attachment and you really want it, then you will do it.
mm,
So that mindset, that sustainable mindset, you have to keep changing the goals. You
mm,
have to keep wanting that goal. Once you've reached that one one goal, what's the next step? You have to keep pushing forward. That's for sustainable fitness, sustainable mindset. You have to keep changing the goals because otherwise you become stagnant
mm.
and your mindset is right. I'm bored of this now. Change the goalpost. Keep switching things up.
I
That's
find it
that's the goal for sustainable mindset.
I find it really interesting, Stuart, because if we were to apply this to other walks of life, where, you're getting bored, okay, you've not quite done that, let's change. And sometimes you just end up doing a number of things but not achieving anything. Whereas for physical fitness, what I'm hearing is it's
Mhm.
actually a good idea to keep refreshing your goals so that there's always something
Yes,
to achieve and always something to show up for.
yes. If you don't change what you're doing, then your body becomes it becomes your comfort zone. If you
Right,
carry on what you're doing, um, you have to change.
right,
So if you're always doing the same thing and trying to get a different outcome, it's not going to happen. You
right.
have to change that goal. So if you want to lose if you want to lose body fat, you start at the lowest platform. You've never worked out in your life. You start at the lowest platform, and then a week later, you take a step up because your body then is adapting.
Mm,
And if you stay at that lower level for too long, your body is adapted, and that becomes your comfort zone. So you have
mm,
to take it up a level. You have to change what you're doing. Maybe lifting heavier weights, maybe doing more reps. Um, but there has to be a change.
right,
There has to be a change. And when you see a result, then you reward yourself, no matter how small it is. Humans love rewards.
yeah,
As humans, we love to be rewarded. And whatever that reward is for you, reward yourself for that very small change that you're seeing. But you have to change in order to get that reward, to get to see the change.
right. Understood. That's definitely a new insight for me as to how it's important to keep changing. And it was something that I wanted to ask you as well, and you've covered it quite nicely, whether it is important to keep changing your exercise routine as well, rather than just sticking to the same thing over and over. Yeah, because I was wondering if that was a myth. You have broken that and explained that quite well. Have you seen physical health help transform people emotionally and mentally? I know you talked about one lady that was depressed, and when she lost the weight, it made a world of difference. Are
Yes.
there more such stories that you've seen?
Oh, definitely. Um, One of my clients had a terrible accident and he had to learn to walk all over again. And for him, being able to improve strength and his physical ability, even just by 1%, has affected his mind. He's able to do more at home, functional stuff. So it's not just about um, big changes. It's
Mm,
this very, very small changes that make the huge difference.
mm,
So with him, it's just that 1% change has affected his whole life. So it's not just about losing 6 stone. It's not just about packing on 20 inches of biceps. It's that small change that makes that huge difference. And I've seen that over and over and over and over because a lot of people in their past lives have tried and they've tried and they've tried, and to them, they've failed. And it's not about failing, it's about learning from what you've done in the past and taking the positives from that forward into the future.
right,
And when they see just that 1%, then when they focus on that 1% change, then the whole persona of themselves changes with it.
right. The mind body, as we've been repeatedly saying, is incredibly well connected. And
Yes.
one of the things that I have noticed with some of my clients who came in depressed was that when we set up a routine for them where it involves physical activity, and it might be as minimal as, going for a walk. Um, and for some of them, they've not been doing it and they're just starting out. So I would say at any time of the day, just go. Make it a point to go. And then you can get into a routine of, okay, you'll go at this time and so on, but at least just go. And
Yes.
that was one of the very successful ways of getting them on the road to coming out of depression. It definitely
Yes.
was the lifeline, if you like. First, they got hold of it, and then they could catch their breath, and they could walk with me for the rest of the resilience, the mental
Yes.
resilience journey. So I have seen that in my clients as well.
A lot of a lot of people when they come to me, uh, they've lost confidence in themselves. Um, they've lost resilience. Their mood is very low. Depression, um, stress is high.
Yeah.
But by getting that 1% change and allowing themselves to embrace that 1% change, their confidence changes. They get better. Their confidence increases, their resilience is better. They want more. They want to move on. They're happier because they're focusing on that 1% change instead of the end goal. The end
Mm,
goal may never come, but that 1% change is there already.
mm, incredible. What would you give as a tip? We'll go into the tip section now, where you can throw several tips at our audience. For someone
Okay.
who's got a sedentary lifestyle, probably describes me as well, over 40, largely sitting throughout the day, what is something that they can do to get moving?
Right. One thing is stacking.
Hmm.
So one thing you can do is when you go to the toilet, when you finished a phone call, you finished a Zoom meeting, as soon as you finished, get up, stand up, and stretch. You need to stand up, walk to the end of the room,
Mm,
um, go outside, couple of minutes, walk in the fresh air, but you need to move every 45 minutes. You need to get up and move. If you don't, then your body will shut down. As we've said previously, your body will shut down, it becomes stiff, your mind becomes stale. You need to get that oxygen flowing throughout your body. So you need to, every 45 minutes. If you haven't stood up, you need to stand up. You need to move. And then
Right.
you can come back, breathe, and then you're more focused. That's one big tip. You need to move. Our bodies, like we said before, our bodies are designed to move.
Right. And what's one small shift someone can make this week so that they can get on that road to, well-being, and it adds up over time?
One thing that one small shift that anybody can do is pick one thing, whatever it is, like adding one extra serving of protein to your meal, going to bed 30 minutes earlier, or taking a short walk either before or after a meal. Pick one thing and do it sustainably.
Hmm. I think if people can reflect and look at their own lives as to where the biggest gap is, maybe that's where they can pick one of these. It'll fit in one
Yes,
of the areas and put
yes.
that. So, in addition to what you said earlier about going and walking in nature, is there any other personal go-to reset that you have when things get stressful?
When things get stressful for myself, other than walking in nature, it's um, being active. I like going on my bike. So getting out on my bike, going for a ride. Um, I know that's a bit more activity. I have a very active lifestyle as a personal trainer.
Mm,
Um, but being active, doing what I enjoy, um, reduces that stress. I
mm,
have to, as I have my own struggles. I have epilepsy.
mm,
So stress reduction is key to my well-being. Luckily, touch wood, I haven't had any episodes for quite a few years, because I believe it's because I'm on top of my stress levels. I'm very
right.
good at managing my stress levels. So taking myself away, doing what I enjoy, leaving behind the things that cause me stress. I have to leave that behind and go and do what I enjoy.
So again, what I'm hearing is movement is like an antidote to stress. And as I'm reminded of something that I read. I could recollect it incorrectly, but the adrenaline that is released during our fight or flight response, when we
Mhm.
move, apparently we burn that, we consume that essentially, and thereby we quickly get into the rest and recovery mode. Whereas if we don't
Yes,
move and if we just sit, essentially we just sit, basically, we're static, then we are in that feeling, in that state for much longer, is what I have
yes,
learned. So,
yes.
for those suffering from anxiety, also, movement could help them burn that stress
100%.
out. Yeah,
100%. Yes. 100%. Yes.
it's that's been such an insightful conversation, Stuart. I really appreciate you taking so much time and educating me and our audience on so many
It's been a
fundamental
pleasure.
aspects of exercising. As I said, I think we need to have another conversation about nutrition and maybe even more specific exercising. I want to explore, walking and the strength training and so on in more detail. So maybe we'll have another conversation at another
I
time.
would love to. I would absolutely love to.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.